Hey, how you doing, everyone? Back again. Doing another second video over here on separations and pending divorces and stuff like that. So what I really want to talk about today, I want to talk about how when you're going through something like that, you want to keep busy. You really wanted to keep busy. That's what you really want to do. Sitting around the house, thinking about everything that's going on. It's not good, man. It'll drive you crazy. It will drive you crazy. Trust me, I know. Just the sleepless nights. You're not eating. You're not going to the gym. Probably losing weight. Those things right there, obviously not good for your health. Unless you're, a large person, then, you don't mind losing the weight, but that's not the kind of way you want to lose it, to be honest with you. It's not healthy. I found myself a lot actually just sitting around the house a lot. I had food there, but I wouldn't eat, because I couldn't eat. I couldn't do anything. So I would recommend to, go to the gym, join the gym, focus your mind, take care of your body. You have to do it. You really do. Go to a coffee shop. Meet people. Go to groups. Groups help. Especially for the dads or the guys. You can find things to do. Meet people that has the same interests that you have in terms of like your hobbies that you probably neglected to do a lot because of what's going on. But and I'm telling you from experience, man, you have to not think about it, as much as you do. I know it's really hard, but for me, it took a long time. I'm still actually dealing with it a lot better. I'm definitely rebounding. I still have my ups and downs a little bit, but not as much. You have to remember every passing day, week, month. Well, at first it's not going to be easy. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not going to be easy, but it does get a little bit better. Especially the hard part. The hard part is probably going to be the weekend. When you know that. If you're not doing anything, you sit around the house, you're gonna be thinking about what your wife is doing, or your husband, for that matter. It's just gonna drive you crazy, because there's nothing you can do about it, and I don't recommend stalking, going over there. You have to probably cut ties a little bit, not completely. If you're cordial, you don't have to, but if it's ending on bad terms, you have to cut ties a little bit, because it's just going to prolong your healing process, and that's going to be the worst part, to be honest with you. You're going to be, it's going to take a while. It's not going to be a couple of months. It might take a year, to be honest with you, a year and a half. There's no time limit, really, to be honest with you. Everybody heals differently, some people move on quickly and some don't. But when you have children too, that's a factor you have to think about too. You can't, you see your kids, you have to interact with your ex or your wife. And that's going to be difficult too as well, because once you see them, feelings are going to come back, and it might start all over again. You have to cut that tide. You have to really let it go a little bit. You have to just block her, on social media. You have to do that, man, for for your own health, for your mind, your well-being, you have to just not get on social media and see what she's doing. It's just gonna drive you crazy. It really is. And I'm talking about all platforms, not just Facebook, Instagrams, everything, Obviously, if you have kids together, then you have to be cordial about that. You have to, use certain apps that allows you, to communicate through text or calls. But sometimes she might not want to talk to you at all, She maybe just wants to converse through a text message, or through a family member or something like that, which is hard, really hard. But, and you're going to feel compelled to say things to her or him. Like I said, it goes both ways. That you're sorry and everything like that, people split up for different reasons, I don't, if you think that apologizing and, and being, you try to change, you want to change. And if you think there's a possibility that you can get her back, preferably before she meets someone, then go ahead and do it. I recommend reconciling, no doubt. You can do it. Anybody can do it. But it has to go both ways. If she's not looking to reconcile this, not really anything you can do about it. You have to just let her go, let her do what she wants. And if you, like I said, if you have kids, just concentrate on your kids. That's really the only thing you can do right now. You gotta let the dust settle. You really do. For me, you're gonna say things too. You're gonna say things. You're gonna be angry too. You're gonna be angry. And I recommend not doing anything that's gonna jeopardize your ability to get your significant other back. Because once you go there, like I said in my last video, there's no coming back from that. There really isn't. And you don't want to defame your wife or your husband, especially if there's a possibility that you might reconcile and get back together. Because, if you do, she's going to remember what you said. Trust me, she will. And then, there's going to be friction probably again. It's going to start all over again. And then that second chance is going to be gone. You might not get that opportunity. So don't defame your significant other. All right? Just don't do it. I learned that from experience, and I'm going to have to deal with the consequences. Because, then you get family involved. The court systems will come in. And it's just a losing battle, Then you're going to get a protective order against you. And then you're only going to be able to communicate through text messages or through someone else, a third party. And you're only going to see your kid when she wants you to see him or him. And if you're cordial, you could probably see your kid whenever you want, just as long as you have an agreement, like a separation agreement or something like that, which I have, So what I'd recommend is not defaming your significant other, your husband or your wife. Don't do that, first of all. Second of all, you have to, like I said, your mind plays tricks on you. It really does. Your brain goes into survival mode. It really does, because you feel like you're dying. Especially when your body has a way of healing itself, man. But sometimes you have to go through something dramatic like that, and then your body will combat. Your body will combat any illnesses that you have, you feeling, losing weight, stuff like that. Things like that are going to happen. You're not going to come out of that unscathed. You're really not. Something's going to happen. Whether you're losing weight. You might start doing things that you don't normally do, like smoke cigarettes like I did, which I'm not a smoker, but I was so stressed out and depressed that, and I don't do drugs. I drink occasionally, but I definitely didn't want to drink because, you can go down, a different type of rabbit hole that you might not be able to come out of, and then just not gonna feel right. You're gonna feel horrible and you're gonna look horrible. And then, so you have to be vigilant about that. You have to have really, discipline. You gotta discipline yourself. I recommend, just doing certain activity right now, like, pick up a sport, a hobby, like pickleball, maybe go to the gym, like I said earlier. I don't recommend going to bars and maybe shoot pool or something like that, because it requires you to be in a bar and then you're going to be tempted to drink, and and everybody knows that once you start drinking, you're going to start thinking about what's going on, and you're going to start getting really depressed, and then depression will kill you alone, to be honest with you. But I would recommend doing some kind of a leisure activity. If you live in a southern parts of the states, I would recommend go boating or something like that, jogging, running, cycling, something like that. You gotta discipline your mind, you really do. Focus on what you need to do, like you're taking care of yourself, seeing your kid. Don't talk about what's going on around your kid either. That's not cool. If they're teenagers, they probably already know what's going on. If they're, just a kid, they might have an idea what's going on, but they don't know. And to be honest with you, they don't really need to know. And kids are not stupid; they're smart. I would definitely be doing some kind of activity that it's not going to have you think about what the heck is going on, And these are for the people who, this video here is for people who are going through a separation, who are separated and, possibly getting a divorce too. So, if you know that, you're going to get a divorce, there's nothing you can do about it, but, you're going to go through that same process, and eventually there's going to be the date where you're going to officially be divorced, and there's nothing you can do about that, because once you're divorced, it's really over. It's done. The percentage of people getting back together is really very small, really small. But if you can salvage your marriage, if you're just separated and you can salvage your marriage, and you think you can get back together, then I would recommend doing what you have to do, to, keep yourself from getting a divorce, especially if you love that person. You might have to change. Obviously, you're going to have to change the things that you do, because, there's a reason why you're separated, It could be a number of things, you're not there enough, you're not doing your part, in terms of the house, your kid, you're not giving her a lot of attention. Massages and stuff like that are great, trust me, Sometimes a woman wants a massage, and when she comes home, and, because she might be stressed out a little bit, you never know. But I would definitely recommend, doing some kind of leisure activity. Keep your mind focused. Finding that sometimes, go to groups. There's groups out there that can help you, decompress. That's all. If you have to go see a therapist too, because they help, they work. I've seen a couple of therapists, but I'll talk about that some other time, and I'll tell you what happened. But because I tried, but some things got in the way, and that's something else I'm going to talk about. But the thing is that sometimes people can't afford therapists, but sometimes your job will pay some of the majority of the expenses for your therapy, which is good, it's like a perk for your job. They offer those things, but try not to stay in the house a lot. You know what I mean? Obviously, the weather right here in Maryland it's not that great right now. It's cold for a while, and people were indoors for a while. And have no choice but to be inside. Or shovel whatever you have to do. But I definitely recommend getting out the house and doing things that's going to keep you occupied, keep your mind occupied. So, coffee shops and stuff like that are great. Seeing your friends. I would definitely not. Your friends probably already know what's going on. I would definitely not bring up what's going on a lot with them because they're gonna probably get tired of hearing it. I mean, they already know what's going through, and I'm sure they're gonna be there when you need them. But also, don't burden them with what's going on because a lot of times you'll get alienated. Sometimes they might be that's something they might not want to hear at that particular day. So a lot of times don't bring it up. Just sports, bring up some sports or something like that. And sometimes I also recommend probably going on a vacation or something like that too. Because sometimes you have to like I said, decompress, get away. You have to get away sometimes, especially if you live in the same neighborhood that your wife lives in. My wife lives 5 minutes away. And I wish I could go over there and give her a hug and stuff like that. I can't, obviously I can't. But sometimes you have to get away. You have to, go on a vacation somewhere warm. You have to let your body heal, your mind heal, because it's just going to take you down. It's really going to take you down. You can go down this rabbit hole that you might not be able to come out of, and then you start thinking, some terrible things. Taking yourself out, which is crazy. People think about it. They never really do it, but when marriage is a strange thing. When you love someone, immensely. Your mind starts playing games with you. You feel like you can't, live without them and stuff like that, And the thing is that it's just your body needs to heal. Once you recover, you're gonna be in a better place. Like I said, the timetable for recovery is, there's no time frame, to be honest with you. There really isn't. You have to let it run its course. You really do. But you have to definitely, find things to do. I would recommend, for people who are hurting right now, I would definitely not recommend probably not jumping into another relationship right away. You really have to heal, because if you meet someone, it's really not going to be fair to that person that you're going through this, and you're not going to give them 100% of your attention, or they deserve, to be focused on. And if you can't, don't bring up. Everybody knows you don't bring up, relationships. When you meet someone, and you definitely don't defend someone either. So I would recommend. Probably not getting involved in a relationship, man. Your body needs to heal. It really does. That's probably one of the worst things you can do. If you have to stay single, you stay single, Now, don't get me wrong. If you meet someone, because, things happen. You will meet people who are going to be great, And I'm not saying, basically, just don't get involved. What I'm saying is just you have to be very careful, when you meet someone, when you're at, in this place where you're about to get, you're separated, you're about to get dependent divorce or stuff like that, because it's just going to complicate things. It really is. You're not going to have a healthy relationship with someone, or it's not going to be a good start. It's not going to be a good start. Unless that person went through it too as well, and they know what you're going through, then and then if that person is still willing to like be with you and help you, that'd be great. But I mean, if you still have feelings for your wife, and you want to get back together, I definitely recommend not seeing people, even if she has, because right now she's not yours anymore. She's probably moved on, and it's something you're gonna have to deal with. You have to let it play its let it play its course. You have to let the dust settle. You really do. I mean, if you rush back into it and you pursue your wife, and you're just gonna draw her. She's gonna push back. And you're not gonna you're gonna lose that opportunity to get with her, because she still has. For women, it's all emotional. You know that, right? Men know it's all emotional for women. It's not physical, it's emotional. You got to give her time. I don't know how much time that is. It could be, months, but you got to give her time, And if she sees a change in you, then, I mean, you have to make a change too. You can't just say you want to make a change because you want to get back together. It doesn't work like that. It really doesn't work like that. You have to really change the things that you're doing that cause her to leave. That means you might have to change everything about you. Everything. You have to acclimate. Obviously, you're going to have to change everything that you do. Your approach is going to have to be different. Just like when you first met. When you first met, and she fell in love with you. That's your approach. That's what you have to do. And I would recommend, being a person that's want to do it, and not doing it just because you want to get her back. Because once she realizes you haven't changed and she leaves again, it's done. It's a wrap. So you have to change your approach, everything that you do. Sometimes going through a separation humbles you. It changes you. It sure did me, that's for sure. I'm definitely not that person I was the last 2 years. So I would recommend that if you're gonna make a change, man, it's gotta be a positive change and for the good. She's gotta see a change in you. It's gotta be a real change. It has, your relationship with your wife or your husband has to be different than what it was before she left. Or it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. She's not gonna see a change. It's gonna be the same old story, and then she's gonna check out permanently, whether you have a family or not. Because sometimes people get together or they stay together because they have kids, and that's fine. But it's not fair on the person that's unhappy. So I would definitely, you have to change everything that you do. I would also say that. Like I said, just, in terms, everybody deals with it differently. I would definitely, get your mind straight. You have to get your mind straight, because, your mind is gonna play games on you. It's gonna, you're gonna be thinking about things that's gonna hurt you, man. You can't. You gotta let that go. You have to, this is why I tell you, go find some activity to do. Go to the gym, go pick up a hobby, pickleball, do something, but if not, man, your mind is gonna cause you to think about things that you don't want to be thinking about. Trust me, it's gonna make it much worse, and it's gonna prolong your healing. It really is. So, all right, listen, I'm gonna leave this video here now. I'm gonna have more content tomorrow. So please subscribe. Hit that notification, and I'll talk to you guys later and make another video real soon. Okay, see you. Peace. Be safe. Keep your mind straight.